You're watching UATV News. My name is Ina Kosinska. Good evening. Anniversary of the vote to approve Ukraine's independence. An all-Ukrainian referendum took place 29 years ago. It has put an end to the process of Ukraine's secession from the USSR. The act of independence of the country was supported by more than 90% of residents in all regions and in the Crimea. On the occasion of the anniversary, President Volodymyr Zelensky noted boundless respect for those who fought for the independence of Ukraine for centuries. He says even now the struggle is not over. For the seventh year, Ukrainians defend their territories at the cost of their lives.
The main thing today is that we have everything we need to become a powerful and competitive country, and Ukraine has every chance to be just that very soon. But this is possible under one simple condition: if we all work together to do this.
World AIDS Day is marked on December 1st throughout the world. Over the past 5 years, only in Ukraine, almost 28,500 people have died of the disease dubbed the plague of the 20th century. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it became even more complicated for HIV-positive people to resist diseases. Our correspondent will tell you more.
Anna found out that she was HIV positive in 2008 during pregnancy. She started taking antiretroviral therapy and gave birth to a healthy baby. Now, with her husband, they have 3 children. All of them are HIV negative, as well as the husband.
2020 is rolling now, and I feel great. I believe that it is antiretroviral therapy that allowed me to survive. Well, I was dying actually, and nobody predicted positively to me.
Добрый день, слушаю вас. Чем я могу вам помочь?
Since the beginning of the pandemic, the call center for HIV-positive people has started receiving more calls, Olena says. The most popular question is how COVID-19 affects people with HIV. The availability of antiretroviral therapy drugs is also among worries.
We have updated our database, contacted every regional aid center. We checked all the phone numbers of the places where people can turn to request therapy. As we provided them with contact, they can get it either through mail or through direct delivery.
In course of 5 years, almost 28,500 HIV-positive people have died in Ukraine. The highest death rates are in 3 regions. 23% of the dead were in Dnipropetrovsk region, almost 12% in Odessa and Donetsk regions. Women died 2 times less often than men. The most common route of HIV transmission is unprotected sex. The second place is obtained by the use of injected drugs. Doctors say that high mortality rate is caused by the low rate of HIV testing, although tests are available and free even at family doctors. However, the number of HIV-positive testing has increased over the pandemic, since patients suspected with COVID-19 undergo a range of various tests. Meanwhile, out of more than 12,000 HIV-positive people registered in Kyiv AIDS Center, only 20 had contracted COVID-19. Doctors assume that HIV-infected people are less likely to get coronavirus due to antiretroviral therapy.
These are RNA viruses, and of course this lacks sufficient evidence base yet, but the assumption is that people who get ART are less vulnerable to the coronavirus disease.
AIDS centers are under strict lockdown now. They are authorized to admit only those patients who have been recently diagnosed and have the need for hospitalization. Antiretroviral therapy drugs are delivered to patients by social workers or sent by mail. Reported by Nick Starkov, Inessa Zanina, UATV News.
Plus 12,498 infected with coronavirus over the past day in Ukraine. The incidence rate is on the rise again after declining over the weekend. Kyiv remains the leader in anti-rating, as well as Odessa, Dnipropetrovsk and Lviv regions. The Ministry of Health has calculated that more than $10 billion are needed to finance medicine in 2021. According to the minister, this amount is necessary for fight quality treatment of Ukrainians.
The amount of vaccination against COVID is taken into account. We need 15.1 billion hryvnias for the purchase of the vaccine. We calculated who we should vaccinate. We are ready to prove every hryvnia we put into the budget. We are ready to show what exactly it should be spent on. I'm really counting on our deputies who have to approve the budget.
Tightening of quarantine measures brings results in the fight against coronavirus. For the first time in 2 months, the weekly increase in morbidity decreased. This was announced by the World Health Organization. In some countries, despite the positive trend, security measures continue to be strengthened.
Quarantine is being tightened in Turkey from today. There will be a daily curfew throughout the country. During the weekday, every day, a general curfew will be implemented from 9 p.m. till 5 a.m. This restriction will continue uninterrupted on the weekends from 9 p.m. Friday night to 5 a.m. Monday morning. Those over 65 and under 20 will not be able to use public transport. Funeral prayers will be held with at most 30 people, including closest relatives, and weddings won't be able to go over this number as well. Austria's largest rapid coronavirus testing station has opened in Vienna. Online registration is required for this. Those who show symptoms of COVID-19 will be able to take the test directly in the parking lot without leaving their car.
The test needs a minimum temperature of 15 degrees Celsius, so you have to put the test into a heat box and wait for 10 minutes. Then you proceed to the last station to show your results, a QR code, your ID and your social security number. After that, you get the printed test result.
Americans who return home after Thanksgiving are required to self-isolate. This surprised many travelers. Previously, they were encouraged to simply not going anywhere due to the increase in the incidence.
Yeah, I doubt anybody gonna quarantine for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, nobody told me anything. As soon as I got off the plane, you came up. That's it. That's the only person.
Quarantine is also being tightened in Hong Kong. Civil servants are switching to remote work. Entertainment establishments are closing. Catering establishments will work only until 10 o'clock in the evening. Classes in schools have been suspended. Reported by Nick Starkov, Ksenia Bugay, UATV News.
The Azerbaijani army has entered the Lachin region, the last one in the occupied Nagorno-Karabakh, which Yerevan should transfer under the control of Baku. More details in our next report.
In the early morning hours of December 1st, Azerbaijani troops took over the Lachin district in the Armenia-occupied Nagorno-Karabakh. Earlier, Azerbaijan has already took over the Agdam and Kelbajar districts. On this occasion, the President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, addressed to the nation. I'm very happy to say that Lachin district has been liberated from occupation. I heartily congratulate all the people of Azerbaijan on this occasion. The liberation of Lachin region is a historic event. Moreover, we returned Lachin region without firing a single shot. The Lachin district was handed over in accordance with the agreement on full and complete ceasefire signed between Baku, Yerevan and Moscow on November 9. Russia brought its troops into Nagorno-Karabakh to ensure the transfer of the occupied regions to Azerbaijan. It also gained control over the Lachin corridor, a narrow road connecting Nagorno-Karabakh and Armenia. Our mission is to ensure safety of civilians driving their vehicles through the corridor. We have a special register where we write down the time of transit and number of passengers. We also ensure safety along the whole Lachin corridor. Meanwhile, Yerevan protesters continue taking to streets against Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan. They demand him to remove from office. Demonstrators block the city's central streets, clinching with riot police. The most bloody battles of the Armenia-occupied Nagorno-Karabakh since 1994 raged from September 27 to November 10, 2020. Under the ceasefire accord, Armenia has to hand over territories of Agdam, Kelbajar, Lachin and part of Gazakh districts under the control of Azerbaijan. Official Yerevan called the agreement a great tragedy, while Baku calls it the surrender of Armenia. Reported by Nick Starkov, Vadim Kramer for UATV News.
For the truth without arrest, this demand is made by the National Associations of Journalists of Ukraine, Poland, Belarus, as well as the European Federation of Journalists. They met today in Kyiv as part of a solidarity roundtable initiated by National Union of Journalists of Ukraine. According to the head of Belsat TV, the journalists of this channel alone spent a total of 377 days behind bars. And the head of the Belarusian Association of Journalists noted that in recent months, legal assistance to the detained media workers has been hampered.
Today the situation is getting worse. Today everyone is talking about legal default, and we all feel it. We see it with our own eyes. We see that journalists who are detained during mass actions are more and more often sent for a day, 15, 10, 13 days behind bars. I can't say that we can get a person out of the bars if it's a criminal or administrative case, but I can say that we will do our best to achieve this.
Children of water and grass. This is how the world's largest living rodent, capybara, is being called. Kharkiv Eko-park is the only place in Ukraine where these animals breed. Recently, it welcomed 4 new little babies into its family. Our correspondent saw how giant rodents are being treated.
Watson is a good boy. He loves when you scratch under the neck and around the ears. In summer, when rolled in the mud, he can let scratch his belly.
A new addition to the family of the park's largest rodent, for capybaras, has seen the light. Babies are kept together with family in a warm winter-protected cubicle. Each morning they eat carrot and lettuce. Lettuce is their favorite meal. Baby capybaras are born with fully formed teeth and fur. They eat mother's milk, but from the first days they also taste the meals of adult rodents.
They love mainly greens, lettuce, herbs. They are vegetarians, children of water and grass. They are born with teeth and fur and immediately start eating. They feel more natural in the water rather than on land.
Watson is one male capybara for 4 females. His descendants live in Kyiv, Odessa and other eco-parks all over Ukraine. They are moved within the animal exchange program.
He is the only male capybara in Ukraine. As you see here, they produce offspring successfully. In the wild, capybaras usually give birth to 2 yearly. Here sometimes we have twice a year, and this time we are lucky having 4 new capybaras.
Rodents are contacting people openly. Next spring, when kids grow older and gain strength, the family will move to a bigger open-air cage, and visitors will give them their names. Reported by Nick Starkov, Natalia Belakudra, UATV News.
That's all for this hour. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Twitter and Facebook pages. Stay safe and good night.